The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Naveen. So this is a community event on Test Suite Autopilot, session one, and so today Sean Dawson from UiPath has joined us, and I'm Arun Kumar. I'm part of Cubotica's MVP, and we both will be the presenters for today's event. So, okay, so Sean, do you want to get introduced to the audience?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name is Sean Dawson. I'm part of the Test Suite product team, and my role is primarily working with partners to try and help them realize the business benefit of the platform and help build their practices. And I'm really passionate about testing and about the role of AI in testing in particular. And I have some thoughts about what's coming down the pipe for that, and I'm thrilled to share those with you guys today.
Thanks, Sean. So I'm Arun. I'm part of Cubotica's delivery team here in the US. I'm also an UiPath MVP, and I've led different automation consulting engagements in my career. And we'll be covering the autopilot testing capability today. Right? And Naveen, do you want
Yeah,
to?
hi. Myself, Naveen Chatlapalli. I'm working as a solution architect at Ashling Partners. And I also, as Arun mentioned, I am also an MVP recently. And I lead the Dallas chapter and conduct UiPath community sessions around to gather people and conduct some sessions like this. I'm happy to moderate the session today. And please feel your questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. And yeah, happy to take them. Thanks.
Let's move forward. Okay. So what's there in today's agenda, right? So we're going to cover what are the problems and opportunities in the current testing landscape, and where does this autopilot, UiPath autopilot capability, especially the test suite capability, all fits in to modernize this landscape. There are like four key capabilities which we will cover, and we'll also have a end-to-end demo of these functionalities, and we'll discuss what's open in future. What do we expect in future on this test suite autopilot offering from UiPath, right? So this is a quite a packed agenda for today. Let me get started. And Sean, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So when we first initially conceived of Test Suite, this is going back to 2018, 2019 timeframe, we noticed that for most organizations, if they had something like 1,000 test cases, they would only automate something like 200 of them. And we reckoned that that number was so low because they were using siloed automation tools. So they might use one tool for development, one for IT operations, and a different one for process automation in the business. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Aaron. But 80% of the effort in all three of those disciplines is the same. It's modeling the applications and making sure that the button presses work and your selectors are accurate and reliable and all of those things. It's just the context, the scaffolding, and the reporting that are different in the automations that you're writing for these three different disciplines. So if we brought our enterprise automation platform in and we used it for all of these things, next slide, we'd get the benefit of reusability across all the various disciplines. And so not only would we get more automated testing over on the development side, but it would also lower the bar for automation in other disciplines as well, because you're sharing 80% of the effort, right? And so, and in fact, in the wild, we see that when this is done really well, we get like 90% test automation instead of the 20% that we get otherwise. Now, what we had no way of knowing at the time that we came up with this is that AI was going to come down the pipe and that it was going to make it cost effective to develop and maintain not just 200 test cases, not even 2,000, but I mean, maybe potentially orders of magnitude more than that. And that means that AI has the potential for ushering in a software and IT systems quality revolution that like we've never seen. And the people like you guys on this call are just like totally set up to ride the wave of that. Like, I mean, if you think about it today, software quality issues are like car crashes. They're kind of expected. They're so commonplace that nobody even remarks on them unless they're a huge disaster, like that Fujitsu bug in the UK postal system that sent all those innocent people to jail, or like the recent airline snafus that we've been having, right? But the AI powered capabilities that I'm talking about mean that organizations that make quality a core value are going to disrupt those who don't. And again, like I said, you guys are in a position to help your organizations develop that engineering mindset and to be the disruptors instead of the disrupted. It means that companies that do quality well will have happier and more productive employees that churn less and require less training. It means that they'll have better, happier, stickier clients. And it means that they'll have an easier time iterating and adapting to the challenges that business relentlessly throws at them. Make sense?
Yeah, feel free to interrupt and ask questions if there are any. If not, we will go forward. Okay, should we go forward?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so that is the context, right? So we are at the brink of a big change, and that's where we are going to talk about the UiPath Autopilot. Okay, so when you talk about UiPath Autopilot, it's a new set of AI-powered experience which cuts across the entire business automation platform, and we have separate autopilot capabilities for developers, which we call autopilot for developers, for testers, for BAs, and for everyone else in the organization, right? And each of these offering are powered by different UiPath suite. In case of developer, it's Studio and Apps, a tester, Test Suite. For business analysts, it's process mining and communication mining, and for everyone else, is assistant connected to their internal systems of record, right? And clipboard AI. So our area of interest today is we're going to deep dive into the UiPath Autopilot for testers. Okay. Okay. So ideally for testing, the concept of autopilot slowly evolved, and they want to cover the entire life cycle of testing. Right. What you see on your screen is it's life cycle of a testing where we have requirements or stories which can now be recorded in Test Manager, and previously these requirements have to be manually curated. Someone has to read for quality and check them, right? And then what happens? Then we go and design those test cases. Once those test cases are created, then the test cases are automated using UiPath Studio, and we use UiPath Robot to execute those tests. And again, the results go back to the test manager. If you look at this entire life cycle, this is completely now powered by AI. What I mean by it is we have ML-based models helping through each and every phase of testing, right from requirements, during test case creation, even automating those test cases and analyzing those test results. So most of the manual effort involved in traditional way of working in a testing organization is now removed or improved by these test autopilot test suites. Questions so far? let me go forward. So when I talk about the the core capabilities of this autopilot, right? So we have this AI powered evaluation, right? So this is on top of the chain, top of the funnel, where the requirements are being automatically curated by the AI, and we don't need multiple BAs and testing managers to talk about those requirement acceptance criteria and their completeness, right? Uh, Now, all these are automatically generated, and and uh, and there's always a human component to validate and review and use the elements we need. But now we have this tool to fast track that entire curation process. That's the AI-powered evaluation. When it comes to AI-powered generation, these are actually generating test cases for those requirements. So test cases will be automatically generated and they'll be listed for the users to pick and choose based on the needs without the need of manually writing those test cases as we traditionally do in our test manager suite, right? Uh, Third component here is actual automation being generated. So we are creating coded test case automation from these test cases in our studio automatically. But you might need to understand the syntax of coded automation little bit, and then we can work with this use case to be on a realistic level, right? It's not if it's a very complex test case, it even though it generates the code, it might not be completely 100% correct. You might need to know a little bit of coded automation syntax to correct it or update it as per your need before you run it on your testing robots, right? The last point here is the AI powered insights, which is another place where we spend a lot of time in analyzing those test results of those regression tests which run overnight, and hundreds of test uh, results are there, right? We need to understand what are the root cause of the failures, what went well, what are the coverages, what can we do, where can we improve, right? Those kind of insights can be now automatically generated using our LLM capabilities in the autopilot toolset, right? So these are the four main uh, features which we're going to cover in depth in the next slides. Okay. Okay. So let me dive into the demo piece of it. Right. So these are just snapshots showing enhancements, test generation, and regression analysis. So we talked about it, and I assume that everyone is aware of the core UiPath Studio, Test Suite, Test Manager. So these are components. I assume the audience would know what they are used for, and based on an assumption, I go with my demo. Before I move into the demo, are there any questions on this core capabilities? Okay. Now let me. Okay. So, are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So this is Test Suite. Yeah, it's a test manager, and I have a project called Acme Test, and I'm trying to add a new requirement for a login, uh, checking the login functionality of the website, right? So I have a basic, very basic requirement, and we're going to test this Acme test site login feature, right? So let me create a requirement and say Acme Autopilot login test. Okay, and then I'll just say so. The basic requirement is, as a user, I need to log into the Acme URL, and I use a valid registered username, email ID, and password. And when I click on the login button, I should be able to log into the home screen. Very simple requirement, right? Anyone can understand this. So I just create it, right? But now we have created it. How do we curate it and make it more robust, right? So I just say evaluate quality. So if you have some additional document, we can always provide a UI document or any other document. If you don't have, it's fine. You can directly go with the prompt, right? So there are some out of the box prompts which we can use. So there are three out of the box prompts here. One is a multifaceted audit, evaluation, and security assessment, right? Let me go with the multifaceted audit, right? So if you see, this is a out of the box template, and we can customize it as per our need. But for the demo purpose, I'm just going with the box content, right? I just say evaluate quality. So what happens in the background is the LLM models are currently evaluating the quality of the requirement, and they're going to give us suggestions on how do we improve uh, the requirement completeness, right? There are a lot of different aspects, and that's currently being worked on by our autopilot. Yeah. So it took less than a minute to provide these requirement, right? Let's go through it. I don't want to go through everything. I'll just go through few of those changes, right? Let's say the first one suggests in specific invalid login behavior, right? Okay, so I want to add this login behavior when the user attempts to log in with the invalid credential, right? This looks like a good point which I need to add to my requirement. Similarly, if you want to add more, we can always add. Let's say clarify a success indicator, right? For me, this looks interesting. The comment should describe how a successful login is indicated to the user, such as a redirect to home screen or welcome screen. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So if you see, we automatically are curating the existing requirements, right? And we can keep going with it, right? Or we can create new new set of prompts and look at the quality aspect of it. So I can click on evaluate quality, and I can use a different prompt this time. I want to look at it from a security aspect from it, right? Or you can be creative and do whatever we like to do. Okay, so this is the first capability. Okay, any questions so far? Okay.
Yeah, is there any limit how many requirement documents we can upload?
That's a good question. As per my knowledge, there isn't any, but we can definitely try the stress testing. But I think it should be in the documentation. I don't have it on top of my mind.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. There is a limit, but it's functionally unlimited.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can take this question.
Yeah, we should. We should find out what it really is, but it's going to be something well beyond what you can feasibly do.
Okay, but if you add document in more context, definitely your suggestions would be improved, right? Okay, so the next feature which I wanted to demo is this generate test, right? This is actually a very cool feature. We just click on generate test again. You don't have any additional document in this case, and I just say. So there are different kinds of prompts, out of the box prompt, boundary value testing, end-to-end flow, end-to-end scenario testing, right? So let me just choose end-to-end flow verification just to start explaining how this is getting generated, right? So we can, and these prompts are, you can always be creative, you can add any prompts you like, and then you can generate these tests, right? So I'm just going to generate a test case. And again, it shouldn't take more than a minute for these test cases to be generated. Right? If you see these two features by themselves are cutting down a lot of time for the test analyst and the business analyst who would otherwise be spending a lot of time manually doing this work and then taking for different iteration. Now, I'm not saying this is 100%. Doesn't need a human validation. Definitely, there should be a human validation, but it cuts the requirements and the test generation time by 70 to 80%. Right, Sean? Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
Okay. What happened here? Okay. So for some reason, we don't have those test cases. Okay. So let me try to do that again, but we don't have to do. Yeah, I think generate test cases. It took some time for refresh. Oh, sorry. I clicked every time. Generate test case. Okay. So these are the generated test cases, and we always get a notification whenever it happens. We can always control this notification, right? So the first test case is verify a successful login. And if you choose this drop down box, you'll see all the steps, manual steps you would need to do when we do that, those verify a successful login. I already have a use case very similar to that. So let me choose this. I choose this, and I choose these, right? And then I say create test. So we can always regenerate these tests, and you can add more tests as well if needed. Right? For demo purpose, I'm just choosing these three tests. If you see, these three tests are now linked to this requirement, right? So that's the next feature. So any question on this? So if you go into those tests, then you can see this is very similar to if you want to create a normal test case, we would do it manually. Instead of that, we have these. You can always go and edit the description if you need to. And these are the manual steps which automatically created. If you think that some of the steps need to be updated, you can always update it. You can insert steps, move these steps up and down, duplicate. You can work it out. You can add preconditions and post conditions as well, right? So if you even drill down, you will see the expected behavior and additional details you need for this. Okay, so that's the test case generation feature. So the next feature is actually automated, right? So that's the cool one, right? To do that, what we need to do is, before I go there, are there any questions before I move to the coded automation test case generation? Are we good with the test case generation? Yeah. Okay.
How
So
does an application, let's say like I have my own custom in-house application. So how does it know like if I have test cases that needs to be built? So may I know like how it will be able to understand what are the criteria or the business logics on those to come
it's a
up
good question,
with.
right? So for that, you might need to produce these requirement document screenshots, an additional documentation which you need for the LLM to ground its context and produce something meaningful, right? And in future, I think we have this context grounding concept being developed in UiPath that will be rolled out even for the test suite. And I think right now it's still not rolled out in this case. So um, bear with me, right? So until then, you need to provide your own documents, and based, I showed you, right, when we create those test cases, there's a portion where we can upload those documents, right? Those documents will be the reference, and more information you provide, the more context you get.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go to the test generation piece, right? So what happens is, so in our studio, we have to connect to the test manager. Once the test manager connection is set up, if you just go to the so these new test cases were recently added, right? So it would be good if I would refresh this project. Give me a minute. Let me open it again so that these new test cases will also show up. So ideally, this is very similar to the way we used to operate. We connect our studio to the test manager, and then we would interact with those test cases generated. We would create an relationship between automation, and then we would publish it to the orchestrator and run it from the test manager. So nothing has changed. The only big change here is it's now you don't have to write your test cases manually. We can create a coded test case automatically, right? So that's the big change. Right, sorry about that. Okay, so if you see the test explorer, right? So you see all these new test cases which we just generated getting populated here, right? So I go back. So these are the new ones, right? Incorrect password error, invalid email. These are all here, right? Okay, so I've already generated the code. So this is how the coded automation would look like, right? And let's say to demo the feature, so what you need to do is just right click on this test and then say generate coded test case with autopilot. This is as simple as that. Just do that. You get your coded automation, and then you can directly run it on your machine or publish it and run it from test manager if you want to see your insights, right? So like I told, it's not 100% right. There are some syntax errors still. So in this case, it's something I need to work with, so I know how to fix it, right? So there's just a small change here. I save it and then I say run file. So I just generated. I made a very small syntax change and then I'm executing, right? So that's the power of this new feature I'm trying to demo. But we can be creative. If you know the syntax, we can play with it, but most of the groundwork is already completed. So what this test case is doing is checking for invalid credentials while logging in, right? So it says that the expression, I mean, the verification passed, right? You see the green verification, that means the test case has passed. And that gets reflected once we publish it to the orchestrator. Then this will be available to run from the orchestrator on the test manager, right? So I don't want to take up more time on that. So what happens is when you upload, those test cases will be here, and from test sets you can add those test cases into test sets, and if you want to execute it, we can always execute it in an automated way. And once these are few things I've recently run, and you can check the results, right? These are nothing new. These are automatically always been there. But the cool new feature is when you scroll up to the test results, we have something called insights, right? This is new. This is the last feature which we want to demo. We can, if you, I think we can generate insights based on the test we ran last day, 7 days, 15 days, or a month, right? So we click on generate insight, then it would pick the cases which we need insights on. We need to create insights on, and then sorry, not with the P. Yeah. So here I'm sorting the test sets. You can also do test cases, right? If I go to insights, so this is how that automatically generated insight would look like, right? So it would have a report on my top failing test cases, and what are the recommendations we can improve this failure rate, right? So when we have hundreds of test cases, then this would make a lot of sense. And we can even download that report in a Word file. Right. So these are the four capabilities I wanted to demo. Are there any questions? And we have a few more slides and discussion points after this. But these are the main crux of today's. Right. So this looks very, very fascinating, right? So I've started my career as a manual tester, right? So I really appreciate the way we have matured in the last decade and a half, from where we were to where we are right now. It's going to make the life of testers simple, and even automation test developers easy, right? And analysts easy as well. Okay, so let me go back to the slide. I think we have one more slide, and then I'll open it for discussions. So we have Sean is again here. He can shed more details on what are we expecting more in future from UiPath Test Autopilot. Sean, back to you.
Yeah. So when we talked when I was talking earlier, I was talking about how, and we've just seen a demo of how AI is coming to disrupt the testing process, right? And this is early days, right? This is the very initial version of Autopilot for testers. There's lots more stuff coming down the pipe, and it's it's easy to see how this is going to make generating and maintaining and developing tests it's really going to supercharge that effort. But there's another thing to think about too, which is that not only is that software quality space going to be disrupted by the additional capabilities, testing is also going to get an order of magnitude harder, because you have to test all of these AI capabilities on all these other applications, right? So one of the big trends that exists in trying to operationalize emerging AI technology like LLMs is agentic AI, right? We talk about that a lot here at UiPath. And those are basically digital agents that independently act dynamically. And so, you give these agents roles and goals and guidelines about how to achieve them, and you give them capabilities, and then you kind of pair them with a human and send them off to do their stuff. But we're used to thinking about software systems as deterministic. So if you have the same context and the same inputs, you'll get the same outputs every time. And that has informed pretty much all of our reflexes with respect to testing. But AI is different. The whole point is that it's not deterministic. It's like a pachinko machine. You shoot the ball up and you know that it's going to end up falling into one of the slots, but you have zero possibility of determining how it's going to get there. And so just as you have to put walls and a piece of glass on the pachinko machine to keep the ball inside the game, you have to do that with your LLMs too. And what that means is your testing needs to be agentic, and your and it needs to be continuous, right? You can't, it's not like you can just, oh, I'm going to test my software and make sure it works one time and then I'm going to put it to production anymore. We're already seeing all sorts of videos going viral of, customer service chatbots getting tricked into saying ridiculous things about their host companies or stuff like that. So you've seen the progression, and you can imagine some of the types of things that are going to come next. So we're talking about having very highly flexible and adaptive automations, right? Where you give the automation a goal, go create a new vendor record, and then it figures out how to make it happen. You'll see test tolerance and auto healing. One of the biggest problems, in fact, the reason that if you have 1,000 test cases, you only end up automating 200 of them is because it's complex and difficult to maintain those test cases. Well, AI is going to help, auto heal those test cases when they fail. We'll see additional testing scope. So these are testing things that you can't test today, even manually, like user experience comparisons. So, this version of SAP, or we released our new version of SAP, and now it's 20% worse for this workflow. Like you'll actually get data like that. And then finally, what I was talking about with respect to agentic testing, and that's collaborating with a human agent to identify things that need to be tested, or ways to report bugs and then test those and get rid of them and those sorts of things. So, and these types of things are all coming in the real new future with the advances in AI in this space. Back to you, Arun.
Okay. Sean, that was really, really informative, right? So a lot of things are coming. I'm just thinking about how are these going to change the way we're going to produce these automated test cases in future, right? So we're going to see a lot of reduction in all of this manual effort, and even people with a very less automation or coding experience can create automated test cases. That's what
that's actually the biggest benefit that we're seeing in the wild today, is that it enables a relatively novice testing engineer to perform at the level of someone with a lot more experience. And so it raises all of the boats up to this basic level. We haven't gotten to the point where it really supercharges the expert, most people, and I think that's going to happen. But if it just absolutely reduces the amount of training required and expertise required to get a really great business result out of testing.
Right. So we can say it's democratizing testing for everyone, right? Just like we did the automation developer with Studio X. This is going to open up everyone to create automated test cases and improve the way we operate and improve the quality, right? Okay, I think that's the content of what we want to share, and I'm open to questions. And so these are the chapter information. We are Dallas chapter. Diana is a coordinator for US. Naveen is a chapter leader. Me and Sean are part of the chapter. You can always reach out to us through LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to connect and answer additional questions. So, but are there any questions? Open for anyone to ask questions. Are there any questions in the chat, Naveen?
Yeah, I think Cynthia is asking, are you finding the most testers are using Test Suite for manual testing or automated testing?
I'll take it if you want, Arun.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, definitely automated testing. The reason, the vision of Test Suite is to provide a holistic testing solution. So it doesn't do you any good to only track automated test cases if not all of your test cases are automated. Now, if all you were going to do is manual testing, then Test Suite is overkill for what you need. And, I think that what we find is that people are kind of aspirational about what they want to test, and so it goes into the system, and they expect to get around automating these tests, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But I think I think the answer is most people are using it for automated testing, and then the manual thing is kind of a side effect, even if they might have more cases, more manual cases than they do automated cases.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
My take on it is it's going to help both aspects, but as Sean mentioned, you get the best value for your money if you automate, right? Not just manually execute it. But I think this feature can be used by both manual and automated testing experts, because it creates test cases. So anyway, that's going to reduce a lot of effort, and we can even export and import those test cases to your system of like DevOps or Jira or whatever you use to maintain those test cases as well, right? So there are a lot of doors being opened by this opportunity. Any other questions in the chat?
No, that's the only question. Yeah, I think
Okay.
Ankur is asking, have we tried this on Excel automation anywhere? Like custom columns and data need to be verified.
I didn't quite catch it. Uncle, you can go off mute and ask the question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so moreover, I was working like for the Excel automation where certain data needs to be verified for the particular column, and we need to create a test case regarding that side, right? So have we tried a test automation, like auto generation test case on such scenarios or such use cases?
I have not tried manual. I don't try it myself, but obviously it should be able to generate any test on any end application where UiPath can automate on top of it, right?
Okay. Oh,
But yeah, that's a more diplomatic solution. But I didn't get the crux of your question, right? You want to automate on dynamic fields?
yeah, so considering a scenario where we are extracting data and then we need to verify it and then do certain data manipulation, right? So while doing data manipulation, we need to verify like the data is extracted correctly or not. So if we consider that scenario and we need to implement a test case where we make sure the data extracted is correct or not. So in that kind of scenario, we need to, if I understand correctly, if we provide as a documentation, supporting documentation by creating a test case generation, it might it will work or it might work, but that kind of scenario we need to test it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so
Okay.
complex test cases are something we
Mhm.
have to test it out, how it performs. Yeah, feel free to try it
Okay.
out and give us the feedback.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, any other questions? If there aren't any, let me give a quick preview on what's coming. So then the next session, which is a session 2 of the same topic, will be more technical, and it'll be a combination of using a real world integration with an SAP system and generating automated tests and running an end-to-end test, and it'll be more focused on the coded automation part of it, right? So that will be very technical, and it covers a lot of breadth. How it gives you the viewpoint of a full what this tool can really do in real automation, solving complex use cases in real life, right? So this was just a precursor or a trailer for that session. Hope you guys liked it. Thanks, Sean, for spending your time with us. Sean is a very seasoned automation expert in UiPath, and his presence here is really appreciated.
Happy to do it. Thanks for having me. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you need to stop recording, Naveen?